I always come here with global questions because I feel you're so able to have a broader picture for us. So many of us, of course, are very disturbed about all the disparity on the planet and the unnecessary wars. And I see in the journal again that there's comments about the religious wars, etc. And I know I think it's a Buddhist concept that we can't fix a problem at the level that it was formed at. And so many of us write letters to our congresspeople and our senators and say, we're not happy about that. And then I go into guilt that I don't do that enough as an active citizen.
And then you end up at the intersection with someone else.
Mm-hmm. And when somebody pisses me off that way, I usually blow them a kiss, is what I do, because I figure it's not worth being upset.
Even your president?
That's a really hard one for me. I know I'm supposed to be sending him loving thoughts every day, and I have a hard time doing that.
Well, don't do it for him, do it for you.
Right.
In other words, you just contradicted yourself.
Right.
Because you say, when I come to an intersection, I just blow them kisses. And we say, yeah, unless it really bothers you.
Yeah, but that person there can't start wars.
Can too.
Well, that's true.
Ram you with his car. Some of them do.
That's true.
What's the difference? It's a bigger manifestation, but it has the same principles and premise, doesn't it?
Yes.
Nothing ever happens in this world that is not a perfect vibrational match to the participants who are playing the game. And so what's coming around to you in this time of awakening is that you just can't let the contrast stir you up and help you launch a rocket of desire about what you prefer, and then continue to push against what you don't want without getting more of what you don't want. Mm-hmm. You finally got to start leaning in the direction of what you do want. And this is a big test for so many of you, because most of the world who is agreeing with you would like to rally together and push hard against that. In other words, it's sort of the way your voting system is. You're not so much voting for someone as you are voting against someone else, you see. And so we would just like to soothe you by saying nothing ever happens in your government or in your nation or in your world that defies the law of attraction. So what you've got to start saying is, there's not a small band of merry evil geniuses who are conjuring all of this stuff and controlling the vibrational offering of the world. Sure, they're out there doing what they do, and they might be evoking responses from you, but it's the responses that are being evoked that are upsetting your life. That woman who upset you in traffic, is not the creator of your experience. She was an influence that you responded to, but you've got your choice of how you respond. And that's what we want you to hear about all of this. You have responsibility and choice in the way you respond. And until you accept responsibility for the way you respond, they and their behavior are going to control the way you feel, and no wonder you want to get rid of them. You see.
So what do I do when there's not enough money for our schools? And I'm furious about that. And now we've got the same thing going on with our governor, who many of us didn't ask for. And it hurts me so to think that there's kids sitting in classrooms with 40 kids, and our tax dollars that we all work so hard for and have to send, and every time I write my prepayments, I say, I'm affirming this to go to build hospitals and schools. Okay, so energetically I'm sending it out that way.
So when you send your taxes in once a year or 4 times a year?
4 times a year.
4 times a year. 4 times a year for about 15 seconds a time, you fork this way, and the rest of the time you're forking this way. In other words, you got to turn that around more of the time. And you see, here's what you're amplifying, and we are appreciating it so much. You want the conditions to change so that you can have a better feeling response.
So that more people can be happy in life, who deserve to be happy.
Well, the way you tell it, only 50% of the population can be happy at any given time.
Right. It's not like politics rules my life. That's true.
So the Republicans are in power. They're all having a heyday. And the Democrats are all off in the corner complaining and whining and licking their wounds. And then later it will be the other way around. And we say, why let that be what causes you to feel the way you feel? Why not take control of your own life? Why not acknowledge that as bombs are dropping on people, that there are people all over the world who are wanting it to be different and launching rockets of desires? The people who are being dropped on, the people who are not wanting them to be dropped on. In other words, the majority of the world does not want that to happen, regardless of the reason. The majority does not want that to happen. The majority of people, if you said to them, here, I have a bomb, and there's someone over there that I am sociologically, politically, religiously at odds with, here's a bomb, and I'm giving it to you to go drop on them, you would have a hard time in the whole scheme of humanity finding that high of a percentage that would be willing to do that, because it's not what makes them happy to do that. But if you were to say to them, those people over there are a threat to you, and if you do not take this bomb and do something about them, they will come and get you. Now, that puts a different slant on it, and a slightly higher percentage of them would be willing to take the bomb and drop it. But the thing that we're wanting to say to you is, you have to sort of set all of that aside and understand that in that contrasting experience where people are watching the bombs actually being dropped, where people are actually watching the upheaval of the societies, where people are actually feeling the loss of their own soldiers, in all of that, rockets of desires are being launched, and source energy is saying, we agree, yes, we agree. And when one of you finds alignment with the dream that you've launched, you'll find peace in your world. You've got to become a vibrational match to the dream that your contrasting world has caused you to launch. Here's another way of looking at it. Future generations will benefit from the contrast your generation is living, because your generation is launching the rockets, and source is in agreement with them. And new generations will come in who will not be vibrationally resistant to the rockets, and so they will be the receivers of what your contrast has caused you to ask for on behalf of humanity on planet Earth in this time-space reality. We just think that it would be nice if you were to be able to receive the benefit of the rockets you launch. So when you see something like that and it hurts your heart, and in the midst of all of that, you hate who's doing it, and you hate the reason for it, and you don't like the fact that the buildings fell down, and you don't like the fact that the plane hit the building to begin with, and you don't like the fact that the building was so weak that it fell down, or you don't like the fact that the building came down in whatever way it came down, or you don't like the fact that everything was stirred up in the way it was stirred up.
I don't like the fact of why that happened in the first
place. You don't like that, you don't like that, you don't like that. But in all of that stuff you do not like, you're launching rockets of what you prefer, of what you prefer, of what you prefer, of what you prefer. But we don't hear you. We don't feel you a vibrational match to what you prefer. We feel you pushing against that, like you need to justify why you want this by pushing against that, you see. And when you try to justify what you want by pushing against that, you cast your vote for that. And then you hold yourself vibrationally apart from it, and then you blame them for how miserable you feel because they took their turn out of turn at the intersection and flipped you off. You see.
So do I not think about all of the injustice in the world and go about my beautiful, magnificent, magical life and just keep loving people?
If you could think about the injustice of the world and feel good, then we'd say, have at it. But when you think about the injustice of the world, you vibrationally separate from your inner being who does not see injustice in the world. Your inner being sees law of attraction afoot. We promise you, you would not like an arbitrator. In other words, you feel uncomfortable with a government that you think is making decisions based upon what they want and not working for the people, just working for their own special interests. How would you like it if you could get wind of law of attraction that was playing favorites in that way? Law of attraction does not play favorites. Everybody gets exactly what they are vibrationally outputting every single time. No exceptions, you see. No exceptions. So then you say, well, what about the children that are in the village that got bombed? And we say, they're part of that vibration. They've been listening to their parents. You see little kids that are 5 years old that are picking up the rocks and flinging them with hatred. It doesn't matter how they learned it. They're in that vibration, you see. And not all of them will follow the path of those who came before. In other words, there are a lot of people, a lot of little people, a lot of children that are being born that are not feeling the same intensity of those who are a part of it. And the good news is that there is this wonderful dilution ratio where the new ones are coming in, all tuned in, tapped in, turned on, all eager about life and bright-eyed about life and looking for the optimistic, wonderful things of life. And then it seems the longer you hang around in these physical bodies, the more you tend to push against things. And so you croak and new ones come in, and you croak and new ones come in, and you croak and new ones come in, and you croak and new ones come in. And so the influx of those who are optimistic and knowing that the world is a wonderful place to be, who have just now made the decision to come into this world because they see it as this magnificently well-stocked kitchen with a contrast that is perfect for evoking whatever is wanted. You see how it works? We just want you to get up to speed with who you really are. We don't want you to stick your head in the sand. We want you to know what's going on in your world, and we want you to have an opinion about it, because your opinion and your desires are what are launched into the future experience, into vibrational escrow. But once you know what you want, we want you to give your undivided attention to what you want. It's possible that you could say, I would like to be in a position where I could do something about that. And you could launch a rocket of desire and hold to it and fork to the left, fork in the direction of what feels good until you find yourself in political office. And then once you're in political office, you would feel all overwhelmed because you're one shining voice, one connected voice among this sea of others that are sort of confused and lost. And so for a while you're forking that way, forking that way, forking that way. But then you remember why you're there and you get all excited and you begin to join some of the debates and you begin to launch some rockets of desires and you begin to lay in your bed at night and you begin to become a vibrational match to what you want, and you become a very clear-minded mind and voice in a sea that is a lot of confusion. And then the universal fairies of the universe help you to line up, and you find yourself in the hallway with people, and you find yourself being tuned in, tapped in, turned on, and you find yourself saying just the right thing at just the right time, and the fairies of the universe are assisting you. So it's not just voices that are lost out there in the wilderness. It's a voice that's planted here at this precise time, and at this time, and at this time, and at this time, until before you know it, because you've held true to your dream, you are beginning to amass a current around you, and others around the world are beginning to feel the power of that, until more of them are wishing that they could be in the Congress or in the Senate or whatever, and they find themselves, because they are getting a glimpse of you, wanting to be the same. And before you know it, the whole tide of things have turned, because one small person found reason to stay in vibrational harmony with their desire amidst this sea of others. But as long as you are seeing that sea as powerful, then you render yourself as powerless, and you are not, you see. One mother could lie in her bed and hold herself in vibrational alignment with the dreams that she's dreamed because of what she's watched on television, could open a vortex, and source energy would assist her in accomplishing her dream, and she would be more powerful than all the people who are sitting in Congress, all of the people who are sitting in the power circles, all of the people, because she has access to the energy that creates worlds. And doesn't it surprise you that there aren't more people doing that? And the reason more people aren't doing that is because most people are still believing in action rather than in energy alignment. Most people are still leaning toward pushing against what they don't want rather than finding vibrational alignment with what they do want. Your world is not broken. Even today, with everything that's going on, there is more that is wondrous that is happening than is not. Much, 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 much more. Even as you speak about the school systems, the very worst thing that you think could happen is that the money would dry up and the schools would go away. And we say the very best thing that would happen is that the money would dry up and the schools would go away. In all of that, new models are being formulated. More of what the children are wanting is being considered. What isn't working is being left behind. In other words, people cannot control things. You are the creator of your own reality. You are not a victim, and we know you don't feel like one, even though you can get on some conversations that do make you feel that way. But we want you to understand that you have more power than you have been granting yourself. And that's what you're mad about. That's what our friend at the intersection was mad about. It's just irritating when somebody else thinks that they get to decide what's right or wrong for you. Just look at them and say, you've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. You're sending how many more soldiers over at how much more expense? You've got to be kidding me. In other words, where's this all going? You've got to be kidding me. Find a way of bringing yourself back to your power, and they won't bother you so much. Jerry and Esther get letters every single day. There are people who are irate that Abraham will not take a stand against one side or the other. And they get letters from both sides that are irate that Abraham will not take a stand against the other side. And we say, we cannot do that without defying law of attraction. We could not do that without defying your personal power. You create your own reality, and you're in a well-stocked kitchen, and we will not join you in demanding that Tabasco sauce be removed from the kitchen just because you don't like it in your pie.